Good morning, everyone. I'm asked by the media sometimes who I'm supporting for president. In August of 2013, the Dallas Morning News quoted me saying I was supporting Ted Cruz for president. I knew then what I know today. There's only one true conservative to lead our party to victory against the Democrats. That's the key. It's not just about winning the nomination. It's about electing a true conservative who will inspire our base of conservatives across this country like they have not been inspired since Ronald Reagan last carried the banner for our party. That's how we beat the Democrats. That's how we win in November, by electing the only true conservative in this race, and that's Ted Cruz. I said at the time in my press release on September 1st, 2013, that Ted Cruz is the prescription for what ails this country and this party. This country has been in malaise for the last 8 years. Our party has been asleep for more than 8 years, come election time against the Democrats. When you look at Ted Cruz, just look at his record. You know, the Bible says you know them by their fruits. Well, in politics, you know them by their votes. Other candidates can talk, but other candidates don't have the record to back up the rhetoric. I like big, I like bold. That's what Texas is all about. And Ted Cruz will be big and bold as president. It's going to take someone big and bold to turn this country around from the 8 years of the Obama administration. I've also said all along when people ask me about who I like for president, besides Ted, it's because we need a Texan in the White House. Why? We're the 12th largest economy in the world, one behind Canada, one ahead of Australia. We have the oil and gas industry in this state. We need a president who understands, embraces, and will help the oil and gas industry grow. It is our key to freedom and success in our state and in our country, to be oil independent, energy independent. It's also important to have a president who understands Texas, because 1,200 miles of the 1,900-mile border are in our state. Someone who I know will secure the border and won't just talk about it. I'm honored to be the state chair for the Cruz for President campaign. Probably the biggest honor in my life, to have an opportunity to work for someone who I believe is going to impact this country and make it greater for my 4 grandchildren and my 2 children, to carry on the baton of peace and prosperity that every generation has an obligation to do for the next generation. There is no doubt in my mind that Ted Cruz is the right man for the job, and he is the person who will defeat the Democrats in November. With that, it's my great pleasure to introduce my friend, Senator Ted Cruz, the next President of the United States.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for being here. This is an important morning in the Republican presidential campaign. I am humbled to be standing here with 3 strong conservatives, 3 good friends. You know, what we're seeing happening in this race is very encouraging. We're seeing conservatives uniting behind this campaign. We're seeing Texans uniting behind this campaign. And I will say it is incredibly meaningful to have my friend Lieutenant Governor Patrick here and sharing our campaign. Dan Patrick has earned the trust of conservatives across the state of Texas. Dan is a conservative warrior. If you get down to the essence of who he is, of someone who will crawl through broken glass with a knife between his teeth, fighting for conservative principles, that's Dan Patrick. The grassroots know that. The voters of Texas know that. The business community knows that. Dan is a man who, when he stands up and says he's with you, he's not kind of sort of with you. He's not a little bit with you. He's with you with every breath in his body. And it is incredibly powerful to have our campaign here in Texas chaired by Lieutenant Governor Patrick.
If you look at what Ted said he would do in his campaign, and you look at what he has done, he's kept his word. He means what he says what he means. You know, I watched the debates, the first debates, and the one thing that struck me about Senator Cruz was, he didn't say, this is the direction we have to go, this is my vision. He said, this is what I'm going to do on day one. People want someone to be bold. And no one can deny, since he was elected as U.S. Senator, that he has been anything but bold. He is the outsider in this race, but who understands the inside and how things work and how to achieve victory in Washington. Other people can be outsiders, but we don't really know that they'll follow up and do what they say. So you look at his record, you look at what he's accomplished. It's an amazing thing. Let me tell you something. It's an amazing accomplishment to run a successful campaign, the size of Texas, which he did, and now the size of America. And what he said is, I know to be true. All around this country, I've talked to other Republican lieutenant governors and Senate leaders, and everywhere they say, the guy who's working the hardest in my state is Ted Cruz. So I believe that you cannot win unless you have the grassroots, and then unless you have the money to bring the message to the people. And as the senator said, he has both. And let me tell you, that person who gives him $73 on average, that person will be out working the polls and early vote. They'll be out putting up yard signs. They'll be getting their neighbors to vote. They're invested. He has, by the time we get around to March 1st, he'll have well over 500,000 of people who are invested in his race. And that's the difference. That's why he won the U.S. Senate race, and that's why he's going to win this primary. And my job in Texas is to be sure he has the biggest haul of delegates possible on March 1, and I think he's going to accomplish that in Texas.